Good evening, all. So let's get into the topic now. So, as Gokul was mentioning, I am Sanjeev Subramaniam. I'm an application developer at ThoughtWorks. I'm with ThoughtWorks for the past 3 years, and I'm practicing TDD for past 3 years. So let's get into the topic. So before we know what is TDD, how to do TDD, we will understand why we wanted to do TDD, why we should adapt TDD as a development approach. So there are several reasons to adapt TDD as a development approach, but the most top three things that I really liked about TDD is it helps you keep your code simple, and it saves development time, and it really gives you a good confidence of and it eradicates the fear of change. So how it helps simplify your code, right? So we will see detail when we start about what is TDD, how to do TDD, and how these things helps here. But to start with, right? So we all love solving complex problems. So when we all really wanted to solve something complex. So our minds always looking out for complexity. So when we get a problem, what we tend to do is we blow up the problem and really make it complex in our mind, as much complex as we can, and then start solving it so that uh, our solution becomes very complex and very hard to maintain. That is where the first point is, right? So if you start adapting TDD, your code will be simple. And the second thing is it saves time. So it is a bit contradicting, because when you start practicing, you will feel that TDD it adds up a lot of time to your development, because you have to write tests first and then develop, whereas previously you will be developing just doing the code. But how I am saying it saves time is um, so when you start with a test, whatever you write is tested. So uh, there is the possibility of introducing bugs, and debugging and solving the issue reduces a lot. So when you get instant feedback, and so that you can improve your code as and when you are developing. So that's in a longer run, even if you have a learning time at the beginning, in a longer run, it saves a lot of time for you and your team, and it eradicates fear of change. So one thing in software industry is that is constant is change. So whenever there is no software that is running as in the first version. So everything keeps on changing, and there is new requirements coming in, and uh, every time there will be some uh, additional features has to be added, some bug fixes has to be done. So there is a change that is constant. So when I have a code base where I have a lot of fear to go and change, so whenever I change something, something fails. So I cannot do change easily. So TDD or having a proper test coverage gives me a safety net where I can go and change anything without fear, so that I will be pretty sure that whatever change I introduce doesn't break anything existing. So this confidence that this kind of safety net is provided by the test coverage. And how TDD helps here is, so when this is a TDD is a test first approach. So you start with a test and then develop a code. But the other alternative is you first develop everything and then write a test. So during that time, so when we completed development, most of the time we will not have a proper coverage. We will not spend effort to put a proper coverage. But in TDD, you start with tests. So whatever you write is tested, and you already built a, even before building something, you're building a safety net around it, so that anytime, even during your development, you can go and confidently do any changes. So these are the three major things that I really liked, and really made me adapt TDD. But all these TDD was only in the last 3 years that I joined ThoughtWorks and I started practicing TDD. But before that, I was for the last 5 years. Uh, I have never written a test, and my approach was exactly opposite to what test-driven development preaches. So I was quite in the opposite side of TDD. So my solutions were very upfront, very upfront design, and it was very complex. So I always like that complex solutioning. So only when I started doing TDD, I realized that how the reasons for all the problems I faced in the last 5 years while I didn't do TDD. So what are the benefits I previously mentioned, right? So every debugging session has to take a long time. So whenever I do change, until it gets QA approved and it goes to production, even after it enters the production, I will still have the fear whether did I broke something already existing. That fear will be there constantly with me. So these when I started doing TDD, I realized what was the problem during that 5 years. Why I had that constant fear of change. So whenever I do some change, I will have that constant fear of breaking something. So that why I had that fear. All these came to know that after I started practicing TDD, and I realized this is what I was missing in the last 5 years. So. It will be quite challenging at first to adapt to TDD, but when you start doing TDD, you will realize and you improve as a developer. So you started you will start solving complex problems simpler, so that and you come up with a better design through TDD. So. Uh, this is how TDD has changed me, helped me change as a better developer. So I hope you will also find TDD interesting and get realize how helpful TDD is. I will try to give a very short introduction about TDD and a small demo about TDD, so that you get the idea of what test-driven development is. And there are several resources available on net. You can go and take practice it. I will also try to give you a few references that you can go back and see. So to start with, what is TDD, right? So TDD is nothing but test-driven development. So it is a development approach where the development is driven by the test. So it is a test-first approach. So you start with the test, and you develop uh, to fix the test. So, so this is a development methodology practice that helps you drive your development through tests. So what Wikipedia says about test-driven development is it is a repetition of very short development cycle, uh, turning requirements into test cases and solving the test cases. So and there is a simple process in TDD, and you take a specific requirement, turn into test case, and continue that process until you complete all your requirements. So that is what TDD is. So utilizing the tests to drive your development and solving the problems in that. So now we know what is TDD. We will look into how we are going to do TDD. So, uh, so what is how we actually do TDD, right? So there is a TDD cycle, which is commonly referred to as red, green, blue cycle. So where you start is you write a failing test. A failing test means a test that doesn't have any supporting code, so that it fails. So then you write some code, make it pass. Then, here the important key aspect here is just write enough code to make the test pass. Do not think about anything else. Just for a given case, for a given test case, write a simplest code that you can write to make the test pass. And then see, once the test is passed, see there if there is any refactoring opportunities. So uh, does your code become very clumsy? Is there any refactoring that you can do so that you can reduce the clumsiness in the code? So all these comes into the third part of the cycle. So once you have a proper green test, you then look for the opportunity of making the code more elegant. So this is the third part, refactoring part, and you continue the cycle until you cannot find any new red test case. So whenever you feel that there is no more case to test, then you will have a complete solution in your hand, and you're done with the problem. So you start with the failing test, you make the test pass, and then try to find any refactoring, improve the code, and you also make sure that during so now you can confidently go and change your code, because whenever if you do something wrong, your test will fail, and you will know immediately. You will get an instant feedback, and you can go and fix it immediately. You don't need to spend a lot of time there. So once you refactored and once you have all your tests passing, you can confidently go and write a new test case and start solutioning for that case. So this you keep on repeating until you get to a point where there is no more test case that I can write. I have kind of covered all the cases for the given problem. So this is the state. This is the cycle that you follow in TDD. Now we have a quick glimpse of what TDD is, how we do TDD, and why we have to do TDD. Let's see TDD in action, right? So before I go into that part, is there any questions? Am I speaking too fast or slow? Are you folks able to follow? Any questions so far?
No, Sanjeev.
Yeah, hope you're all able to follow. Then probably, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you have any presentation, kindly share the screen, so it will help us more to understand and note down the points or the examples.
Hey, sorry, you were not seeing my screen so far. Oh,
No.
that's my bad. Sorry, I have sorry. I forgot to share. Sorry for that. Probably. Yeah. So is the screen visible now? I will just quickly take you through the slides. So so this is the why part of why we are doing TDD, right? So why, as I was speaking, TDD helps us keep your code simple. It saves a lot of time, development time, and it gives you a confidence so that you can go and do changes in the code without fear that it will break anything. So this is the story of me. I hope you followed that. And what is TDD? So we were talking about what Wikipedia says about TDD, right? So it is a repetitive short development cycle where you take a few requirements, turn into specific test cases, and write code, prove it, and make the test pass, and repeat the same. So this is opposed to software development. Where you just write code, and there is nothing to prove that you have met the requirement. So when you just develop, there is nothing proving that whatever you developed is solving the problem. You cannot until someone actually uses the application and tells you, or a quality analyst tests that application and says that it is working, you cannot prove it immediately. But unit test case is a proof for itself. So what it speaks for your code. So whatever you return, it is solving the cases. So that is about what is TDD. And how we do TDD is following this simple three-step process again and again. So you start with a failing test case, and you make the test case pass, and then you do a refactor. So the refactoring part is to enhance the code, make it more elegant or more readable. Whatever refactoring you have to do, you do the refactoring. You ensure that tests are passing. Now you can go and confidently refactor, because if you do any breaking change, you will get immediate feedback. So that without any fear, you can go and refactor your code, and then start again with a new test case and repeat the process until you don't have any new test case to write. So that is the point where you have a full solution, and uh, you're done with the problem. So 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 let's just do a small code sample for that. Before that, I would like to understand if everybody was able to follow that. Is there any questions? Or do you want me to repeat any part of this talk again? Cool.
No,
I
Sanjeev.
think uh, you folks are following it so far. So let's get into a quick problem. So let's understand what we are going to build. So this is the requirement you got. So you ought to build a FISBIS converter. So I hope most of you are familiar with this FISBIS problem. It is a simple problem where given a number, you have to convert it string based on some certain rules. So the first rule is, if the number is divisible by 3, you have to return FIS. The number is divisible by 5, you return bus. And if the number is divisible by both 3 and 5, return FISBIS. And if the given number is not divisible by both 3 and 5, just return the number. And finally, you have to generate this for 1 to 100. You have to convert uh, uh, FISBIS conversion from numbers 1 to 100. So I hope the requirements are clear. Shall we start developing this requirement and following TDD?
Yeah.
So today I'm writing it in Java, so that I have a small setup ready here. So in general practice, we start with code first, but here the thing is you start with the test. So what is the unit that we are going to create is a FISBIS unit. So um, I'm writing I have already created a test for that, test file for that. Uh, so so what is the first test case? So where you get your first test case is from the requirements. So what the first requirement says: given a number divisible by 3, return a FIS, return FIS. So this should be our first test case. So I have the setup ready for the first test case. So what it has to do, should return FIS when given number divisible by 3. So I would really like to have this or test organization where you have what are the given, what has to happen, and what is the expectation. So the given when then format. Um, so to achieve this, what we need is a given part. So we really need a converter, something that does this conversion, right? So let's name that as our FISBIS converter. I need a converter. Okay. So I need a converter. I have a converter now, and I need a number that is divisible by 3. Let's take 9. And do we need anything else? I think this is the given, right? So yeah, so there is nothing else. So what we have to do is now we have to convert this, use this converter to convert the number, which is divisible by 3, right? Yeah. So what I expect when this conversion happen, I expect a string is the converted value. Okay. So then as when this happens, what is the expectation? What we are expecting this to do? So what we are expecting this to is so this converted value should be this is what we are expecting, right? So when we have a number that is divisible by 3, and if we do the conversion, um, probably for better readability, I will do this. So this is the win. And just for a better readability purpose, I just take it here. So if you say if when the converter converts the number divisible by 3, it should be equal to fifth. So this is our expectation, right? So far we have prepared a setup where the test setup, which is saying us what we wanted to achieve. So now we have this thing, and now we can start building. So now the first test case has given us some structure by trying to approach the first test case. I now have some part developed, so I have now some idea how what to develop. So next thing is to develop that, right? So we can quickly go and so if at this stage it will fail because we clearly have compilation errors. So we will quickly fix those errors. So first I need to create a space converter. Create okay. Then the method yes. So now my code is compiling, and when I run my test, yeah, it clearly fails. Uh, what it says, it was expecting this, but it got null. Yeah, now we clearly have a failing test case. So this is the red part of it. So now we have a failing test case in our hand. So the next step is to make the test green, right? So we wanted to make this test green. So what we have to do is, so we have to think what will be the minimal code to make the test pass. So you don't need to think of any complex scenario. Just concentrate on this particular test case and see what is the minimum code that you can write uh, uh, to make it pass. So my to make it pass, I just need to return this, right? Yes. So now the test is passing because I am I have just made the test the require. I have just met the requirement. So whenever the number is divisible by 3, I am just returning this. So there is nothing fancy here. So I can now look out for any refactoring opportunities. So now I see here that it says number divisible by 3, which doesn't make any sense here. So I can just go to make it just a number. Yeah. So now we have kind of done with our first case, right? Now what you have to do is really think of what will be the next test case that will be a failing test case, right? So it may make it may feel silly to start with a hard-coded value, right? So, but if the only requirement is if a given number you have to return a fizz, that is if this is the only requirement, why you have to worry writing more code? So that is the part where when you follow TDD approach, it will help you keep the code simple. So write just enough code to make the test case pass. Do not think of any complexity beforehand, so that if you start thinking complexities from the start, then you will make your solution designing will be complex, because you have built up so much in your mind about the problem. So now everything. So whenever you start designing, everything comes in and you make the complex really design really complex. So it is very important to take one step at a time and focus only on that particular step. That is how we can achieve a simpler solution. So let me quickly copy this. Uh, I'm going to just make it negative case. Should not return this when given number is given number. Okay. So that so so now my test case is this. So given any number that is not divisible by 3. Okay. So now I have to test for this, right? This is the negative case for the first case. So given a fizz-based converter and a number that is not divisible by 3, what I wanted is it should not be equal to fizz. Uh, uh, it should not return a fizz. It should return fizz only for the number that is divisible by 3, right? So I can quickly run this test. Whenever you write something, the important thing is you have to run everything. Yeah. So it is expected not to be fizz, but it was fizz. Why? Because the only thing it does is it always returns fizz. So now we have a red test case, right? So the next step is doing making it green. So the next step is you do some code, make it if number. So now when you run this, yeah. So it may look trivial for a simpler problem, but when you started understanding and started using this in a real problem, you will feel this in real world scenarios. You will not know the next steps immediately. So to go to next steps, it's always better to start at the point where you know and keep building on that. So now uh, I have tested both positive and negative test case. Uh, I I look my code and I don't see anything I can make it better for the given scenario. This looks good. So I go back to my requirement. And I kind of feel that the first requirement is done. So whenever uh, we can also test with another number that is divisible by 3. So probably 12. it should pass. Yeah. So any number that is divisible by 3, I'm getting I'm getting a pass test case. So this is a green test case. So uh, uh, there is no use in adding a green test case. So you can just remove that. So uh, so far is it clear? So how we approach TDD? So you start with a failing test case. Uh, you just concentrate on what it requires to solve that particular case, um, and try to look for another negative case, improve your solution, and just repeat the cycle, right? So we will quickly move on to the next case, so which is divisible by 5. So I will quickly comment this and always focus on a particular case at a time. So now my next case is when a number is divisible by 5. Um, I'm going to use the same converter and my number is divisible by 5. What the requirement says, it should return bus. Okay. So now let's see whether this test fails. Yes, it fails. Why it fails? Because we are expecting bus, but what was returned is null. So again, this is very important to see the test fails before you fixes it. But because then only you will have that confidence that whatever code you introduced actually solved the problem. So if you don't run your test first and if you don't see the red state, whatever code you introduced, you may not know whether the code that you introduced help you help you to meet that case, or something which was already there help you achieve that, right? So seeing that red test case, that is the test case is failing, is important. So then that will give you the confidence of that whatever code you introduced is actually helping you fix that. So probably now let's try to fix this. So now my case is, if the number is divisible by 5, I have to return bus. Yeah. So now I kind of have the confidence that whatever code I introduced is helping this test fix, and I also run all the tests. And now I know, I'm sure that whatever code I introduced didn't break any of the existing thing. So whatever I introduced is clean. So I didn't break any of the existing functionality. So this is the confidence part that I was talking, right? So whenever you introduce something, you will have that confidence of whatever or I introduced today is not going to break anything that was already there. So this confidence we will get only if we have enough test coverage already there. Then we work on the code base. So whenever you work on a code base that doesn't have a proper test coverage, then it is very hard to gain that confidence even after a long time. It may break. There were scenarios where a fix that was done 1 year back causing failure after an year. So you can never be sure that whatever fix you did is correct, uh, and that is not breaking any of the existing code, unless you work on a code that is properly covered with this. And how TDD helps there is you are not separating the development and testing separate efforts. So whenever you follow a unit test kind of approach where you do a testing after developing, we are tend to not write proper cases. Sometimes we will have low coverage, or sometimes even worse, we will write cases just to achieve coverage, and that test cases are not solving any business value, or not proving any business value, just there for sake of coverage. So all these are the problems of approach doing tests after development. So what TDD does is it brings the first test first, so that you start with the test, you write test whatever, you convert the business cases into test cases. So you're not writing any test case to prove the coverage, and you're just having a case that is a business requirement, and focusing on that particular case, you're developing something which is simpler and solving only that particular test, only that particular case. So that by incremental steps, you arrive at an incremental design. You have a simple solution, and also your solution is a proven solution, because whatever you have written, there is a test case proving that whatever you have written is correct. So um, so these are all the whys of you have to follow TDD. It will really help you reduce development time, because um, uh, the amount of time you spend in debugging, and the amount of changes you are going to make with confidence, all these added adds to your reduces your development effort, and and uh, uh, it also helps you get a cleaner design, um, because whenever you have an unit test, whenever you are writing a testable unit testable code, then it will be modular, it will have proper contract. So then only you will have then only you can write a proper unit test. Otherwise you have to do a lot of mocking. So whenever your tests, you see a lot of mocking behavior mocks in your test coverage, then there is something uh, you can be sure that you're done. You're not properly modularized your code. So when you start with the test, and if you are keen in making writing proper unit tests, you will achieve clean design also. So I can go and build this further, but considering the time, I will stop here. Uh, or if you folks have any questions here, I can will try to answer it. Or if you want me to try something else, I'm happy to do that. Any questions so far, or am I not clear at any part of that discussion? So at least now the code part, were you able to see my screen, or the code part is also not visible? If not, at least yes, no, maybe. So are you folks with me? So were able to follow my code? Where is it visible?
Yes, Sanjeev. So we have a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah,
So
probably I will address that.
yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Uh, yeah. Is this possible to test screen lock? Sorry, Pani Kishore, I'm not able to get that question. If you could. Probably I'm not aware of that. Uh, is this possible to test screen lock? Uh, So, if I understood correctly, you are asking testing um, something dependent on the environment, right? So if you are, can you come on? Can you unmute and talk, Kishore? Yeah, probably we will address the next question. Oh, okay. So he's unable to unmute. Sorry, Kishore, I was not able to get your question. Uh, Probably I will address the other question and try to come back to you. So the next question was, are there some drawbacks to test-driven development? Yeah. So what are the drawbacks, or where you should not use TDD? Uh, so as I was mentioning earlier, the initial learning cycle, right? So you so whenever you don't have that enough knowledge on TDD, uh, and without full understanding, if you start doing it, it may increase your development and uh, uh, so at a crucial time bounded environments, when we are not comfortable with TDD, and it is not advisable to practice there. And um, uh, again, TDD. Hey, yeah,
Hi, I'm audible, right?
yeah,
It's funny
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, so my question is actually like we have the push notification, this kind of thing, right? Is that also a possibility of doing this DTT testing?
Uh,
Like
so
you said,
anything that is unit testable, you can do it with TDD communication. So um, uh, probably, if I understood correctly, you are asking me if there is any notifications, or if I want to, my code is acting on a notification, whether it is able to test, right?
yes, yes. You know, when we have a device on a dose mode, right? Dose mode kind of. So it's during that time, is it something like when get the notifications or not? These are kind of scenarios can be tested. I mean, these are specific to I'm talking about the device specific. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Any kind of testing, right? So uh, it is not mostly a TDD testing. Probably it is a unit testing question. So what unit testing is, testing the unit under development. So whatever you are developing, right?
yeah,
So you will be developing a piece of code that acts on a notification, right? So now that piece of code that you write is the unit. So to test that unit, uh, uh, if you have written it in a modular way, so every unit has an input and it gives you an output, right? So if you could modularize your unit into such a way that it takes an input and it acts upon that input and gives you an output, that is unit testable code. So whenever you can, so TDD is starting with the test first and achieving the code, building that code from the test, right? So it is again a unit test only. So you instead of writing the unit test after writing the code, you're writing it before writing the code, and you are utilizing that test as a platform to build the develop stuff. So whatever you build is based on the test case, right? So anything that is unit testable, you can do it with TDD. Sure.
yeah, thanks. You are recording the thing, the video, right? Session, right? Oh, it will be sharing to us. Uh,
Yeah, probably Google can answer that.
okay, how?
Yeah, yes, we will do
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, along with that, can we have some tutorials? Which can be started on the TTD basics and all. I hope
yeah.
we share with that as well.
Sure. I have quickly get into presentation, and I have one more slide. Yeah. So to start with PDD, this is a wonderful video on YouTube. You can go and watch. This is by Jim Verich. He's one of Ruby contributor and chief scientist in Neo Technologies. So this video is a code kata. So what a code kata is something you take and repeatedly do to get confidence on a particular practice, right? So I will probably share this link in the chat. Yeah. So this in this YouTube video, Jim would have tried to solve a problem of um, Roman numeral conversion. So it is a simpler problem. Given a number, you have to convert it to a Roman numeral, or if a Roman numeral is given, you have to convert back into a number, Arabic numeral. So we all know this conversion, right? What I would suggest is you write a code to solve this problem first without following TDD. Try to have a functionable code that converts all cases for Roman numerals. And once you have the code, I suggest you watch this video. Then you will understand why following TDD is helps you make code simpler and develop faster. So it is a bit lengthier video, but I would strongly recommend watch it to get the gist of test-driven development. So there is nothing theoretical, or there is no uh, uh, nothing more of a tutorial kind of thing. This is if you just understand the practice of what is TDD, it will be easier for you to adapt to it. So this kata is one good start. So you can start doing this kata again and again, so, till you get the confidence of gist of TDD. That's the tutorial. You don't need to so as far as TDD is concerned, it is the understanding the core of it and practicing it again and again, so that you get confidence on that.
Thanks, Sandeep. I got the point.
Yeah. So coming back to the question, any drawbacks for test-driven development? And one other place, so if you're doing some hypothesis, that is when the problem is not defined, right? You are trying to prove something, right? So TDD starts with works well where you know what you want to accomplish, where the cases are where the requirements are clear. You know, given this, you want to achieve this. So that kind of environment TDD suits better. But whereas if you are in an experimental mode, or if you don't clearly know what we are trying to achieve, you're doing some spikes, those kind of scenarios. I don't see it as a drawback for TDD, but you cannot apply TDD for such a problems, because TDD works well when you know what you want to achieve, right? So it helps you achieve it faster and simpler. So places where your problem is not defined well, you're working on something experimental, probably TDD may not apply there. Other than that, any defined problem, TDD will if you are comfortable doing TDD, it will you will definitely get the benefits out of it, and there is no such real drawbacks. Any other questions? Cool. I will once again reiterate that please go and watch that video, and before watching that YouTube video, try to solve the problem of Roman numeral conversion by yourself. Once you have the solution ready with you, go and see the video. Then only you will understand why TDD, how TDD helps. Otherwise, it will be it will be very hard to understand how it helps. So when that's why I added my story in that presentation. So the once I got introduced to TDD, the previous all my previous experience, I was able to recollect and see how TDD has helped me. What are the situations I have faced and what are the problems I faced because I didn't follow TDD, and how it is helping me. That realization I was able to make because. I had so many. I have faced so many problems that TDD is helping. That I realized TDD is helping me. So if you try solving that problem first, providing a solution for uh, Roman numeral conversion, it may be seen by definition the problem is very simple, but there are a lot of different cases. So uh, uh, the solution that you will be having will be uh, uh, I hope it will be complex. And once you compare it with the solution that Jim is achieving at the end of the video, then you will realize how TDD help him. And you will all he tried to cover all the different scenarios in that video, so it will be a good watch on TDD. So with that, uh, I would like to close if there are no questions. Okay, I take that as no, and thank you all for your time and coming here to know about TDD. And thank you, Gokul and Sid for organizing this and giving me a place to share my knowledge.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. So it's a great pleasure to have you. Hey folks, so if you have any doubts, so kindly us, or else you can drop a message at facebook.com/ggcoimbatore, or else at meetup.com/ggcoimbatore. And we will share the recorded videos in the meetup page. Any questions?
Thanks, Gokul. Thanks, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Balaji.
Thank you.